Okay, so I keep trying to record this video. This might be like the 6th or 7th time that I try to cover my feelings on having resided in the District of Columbia. So first, why I moved to the District of Columbia. As you guys know, well, maybe you don't know, I went to college here briefly at George Washington and then at Howard University. I then moved to New York to pursue a career working in the business marketing of the music industry. Once I was jaded and, you know, evolved out of that, I decided to move home to Delaware for a year, got my own place, thought maybe how I could see myself living in the suburbs. I also wanted to be closer to my parents at the time. So did that, hated it, and so I figured I would just move to DC because that's a nice intermit and I could get a better paying job, work on my YouTube, and just figure myself out. So yes, that is quite a bit of moving, specifically in the past 3 years for me, but I'm single, I ain't got no kids, I got a little money, and I really am kind of in an exploratory stage where I am just trying to figure out where it is that I want to live and settle down at. DC proper, in the Trinidad Northeast neighborhood, in the hood. I worked in Rockville, Maryland. And I don't want to deter anyone from taking a good paying job and potentially moving to the DMV area. Now, my opinion on DC in this video is going to be explicitly on the District of Columbia. I'm not talking about Maryland, I'm not talking about Virginia, we're not talking about anything but the District of Columbia. I feel like DC in particular is good for people who either are big into their church, big into their sorority or fraternity, want a government job, have family here or have family already, like their own personal kids, husband, and you're okay with like kikiing it with your homegirls every other weekend at TGI Friday. Those are people that do well here. I have none of those things, so it's a little bit tougher. I will acknowledge that I made the mistake of, 1, moving into DC proper, and 2, getting rid of my car, because my car broke down a week before I moved here, and it was either pay a couple $1,000 to get it fixed, or I figured I'd just take public transportation and buy a bike. Big mistake. To anyone who is considering moving here, I say don't move to DC, move your behind out to Maryland or Virginia, the suburbs, save on rent, get you a car, and enjoy life. Thoughts are on the city. 1, cost of living. It's expensive here. I almost want to say that it's more expensive than New York, because even though my rent technically is cheaper, I pay $1,100 a month in rent, or paid $1,100 for a 1.5 bedroom. The metro is more expensive. The metro is not nearly as accessible as it is in New York. Gas is super expensive. Tickets here are expensive. Parking, driving tickets, traffic tickets. The food is expensive, whether you eat out and you get the 10% tax on your food, or a grocery store, then you have to pay 5 cents for a bag. There just is no real cheap food. It's very hard, I feel like, to hustle and survive in DC. Somebody just knocked on my door at 5 o'clock in the afternoon and then didn't want to say who it was. Look, I can't wait to move. There is no getting cheap food in DC. Like, they're just, unless you want to relegate yourself to eating Chinese food every night, like, I feel like just... The job industry here is better. You can definitely get a good job, get a decent job. So I feel like that's why a lot of people do kind of settle down in this area and opt to stay here, largely because the career field here is plenty filled. So that's not a qualm that I have with DC. The actual selection of food here sucks. And I'm saying this as someone who does not have a car. So telling me that I can go get Korean barbecue in Germantown does not count. Like, the food here is expensive and the customer service sucks. Like, just by and large, I've had very, very few good customer service experiences when I've eaten out here, to the point that I will truck my yellow behind all the way up to Founding Farmers and then pay the extra coin for some good food and good customer service, because I just can't deal with the piss poor service that I get here, considering that, like, I'm paying more than I should be for whatever it is I'm ordering in the first place. The people of DC. This is kind of like a layered topic for me. First, I think DC in general lacks a real strong sense of culture. There's a lot of nationalities that live in DC. It's definitely an international city, but everyone's very siloed and everybody pretty much stays to themselves. So there's not a lot of cross-cultural intermingling. Then if you get down to the black people here, like the natives, I just don't know. I think there's this kind of in the hood specifically, there's a lack of ambition. And this is coming from like me having resided in Bedford-Stuyvesant, right next to the projects for quite a few years, in that there still was like, even though it was rather misguided, there was still a sense of like being able to come up from where you at, like maybe everyone's a rapper or whatever in New York, but there was still like this kind of hustle and ambition towards being something greater than what you currently are, versus in DC there's just this air of like kind of complacency that's very like, okay, no one's really like complaining. Like even the way gentrification happens here, like it's crazy to see that Trinidad is, you know, it's not the nicest neighborhood to live in, but it is being gentrified. And I haven't heard of any community meeting, I haven't heard of any neighborhood association, there's been no block party, there's just things that kind of build a sense of community in your neighborhood and reaffirm the history and the culture. None of that. Not a drop of it. Try to volunteer and teach a web design class at the rec center behind my house. Those kids were not interested in doing anything other than sitting outside, and the director of the program wasn't really interested in doing anything other than collecting a paycheck. So the dating scene here, I knew it was gonna suck before I moved here. It sucked when I went to college, it still sucks now. I don't particularly think you should come to DC single unless you're like an uber like Spelman political chick, like bob cut or like the cute twist out, pearls, pumps, and a cute matching purse, like at all times. If you're on that, then sure, maybe you can put up with the fuck boys, but I think I'm a little too eclectic for all that. Dating for me, as someone looking at the men here, there's a lot of qualified people in DC. There is a good, educated, career-minded, doing a damn thing middle class here, and they're great on paper, but like there's just a major hubris of like too much damn ego and big fish in a little pond syndrome going on here, and it is severe to the point that like I feel like DC is just full of fuckboys, Aquarians, and Kappas, and Pisces. 4 things I'm just not really interested in doing. I might give or take on the Aquarian, but all the rest is like dudes be like this tall, push back hairlines, and they just think they are the shit and that you should bow down and come hither. And I can't quite say that the women are much better. I feel like this is perpetual cycle. Like everyone here has a cut buddy, a fuck buddy, casual sex, however you win a tournament. Everyone here is participating in it because we're all just like over the lack of being able to get what we want out of a relationship. It doesn't do any good for people that are looking to build genuine relationships. You know, maybe you can join a church movement like Worth the Wait or something, find you a boo there, but otherwise you're just like, ugh, it's rough. Even like I wasn't even looking to date while I was out here, but this has been like the driest year of my entire adult life. So part of the reason why I moved here was because I did want the opportunity to build my YouTube channel, and I figured there would be, being that there is a decent sized natural hair community here, and there are quite a few big names and people with YouTube channels and major blogs that live here, this would be a great opportunity to move. And I'm used to like the kind of system of organic collaboration in that you always see someone out, you get to know them, and then you mutually both kind of come together and think, oh, it would be great to collab. You know, I've done what you can term as collabs on my YouTube channel, but it hasn't ever been like okay, well, I'm gonna collab with you because I need more visibility. It's like, no, we're gonna collab because we happen to like each other's content and we work well together, so let's do this collab. But that doesn't really exist in DC. I talked to other people about it and they were like, well, maybe people are just competitive, and it doesn't give me the air of competition here. But it's like an aloofness. And I think, again, it's a cycle thing. People do not invite you out to events. I don't even get it for a company to come out here and do an event and in an effort to market their brand, and they not tell anybody that they're doing an event here. And it's like, do you just want to market to your same 10 friends? Like, I don't get, how are we building a brand here? Like, how are we progressing here? I think what happens is because no one's inviting you, then you in turn are like, well, F it, I'm not inviting no one, because acquaintances, just socialize and have a good time and build off that. And it just doesn't exist here. Maybe because people live so far out. Like, most people don't even really live in DC. people be lying. People be posturing on Instagram talking about, I'm at park on Wednesday night. Yeah, but you drove 45 minutes out to come. Like, people live out in the suburbs here. They don't live in DC. Even with collaborating with people, I've mentioned on various occasions to various people about collaborating, and it all kind of comes down to like you doing all the groundwork to make it happen. People don't genuinely want to collab. There's not a genuine effort in getting things together, and it just seems like pedaling backwards, like putting so much work and trying to build a brand. And what, you know, the best way to build it is through, you know, who you know, and organically kind of collaborating with people without it being this forced like Jouelzy and so collaboration. So I feel like there's a lost opportunity on their part. I don't necessarily want to get into the comparing DC to New York because it is apples and oranges, but I think the great equalizer in New York is that everyone takes the metro. And so there's a certain sense and opportunity to gain familiarity because you always see people out. And, you know, you can move around social circles. Like, everyone here either they stick in their cliques. It's very, very cliquey here. There's no balancing out that clickiness. And people have no problem calling you and asking you for a favor, though. And it's quite, like, really? Like, I met somebody in September. They called me in February asking me to introduce their artist to an A&R that I know in New York. And I'm just like, that is, did I not meet you like 6 months ago? Have you called me since? And I'm not really into the club scene either. I like more of like hanging out in gatherings and house parties and, you know, social and like opportunities you could turn up and have a good conversation at the same time. That's more of my steez, and I just really didn't find it here. This is a city of day parties and brunches, and those are okay. Brunch is too damn expensive here. I'm not paying $50 for nobody boozy brunch. I'm trying to keep this short, so those are just my general thoughts. I might do a blog post further breaking down kind of my opinion on DC, but I underwhelmed with the city, and I think that largely to do with the big fish, little pond clickiness of the city. People just are able to kind of create false senses of self and live in that, and so anything that would possibly break up that false sense of self, they're really not effing with. Do you live in DC? Have you lived in DC? Let me know your opinion on it. All my New York friends don't like it here. None of them like it here. But I'm interested in hearing other people's thoughts. And if you do like it, what are the things you like? What makes the city so special? Let me know. Maybe I need another preview, but no one's been able to convince me yet. So let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching. Deuces. Go buy my book, girl. Why you ain't bought it yet? The reviews on Amazon are amazing. Stay blessed while I stay unbothered, and have a wonderful day. Really?